Welcome to the Wellness League podcast. This is your Try Me series. I am Ella.
I'm Amanda from TriFit.
And I'm Emily.
Throughout this series, we will be covering everything in the sport of triathlon, starting from your first race.
And right up to competing in sprint, Olympic, 70.3 and full Ironman distances, giving you all the tips and tricks from our experience in the sport.
So in episode 9, we are covering all things mental side of triathlon.
So, Em, you're the expert on this.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, you actually are. What's your tips for people to train their mental side so it is as fit as their physical side?
So I think with triathlon or any endurance sport or any sport whatsoever, your mental side is as important as your physical side. Especially I find for those big like Ironman or endurance distances, if you ever think about going down that pathway, because it takes a big part of your life. It's a big lifestyle change. So a couple of years ago now I did a bit of research on this with my sports psychology side of life.
Yes, she's not faking knowing what she's talking about.
And we just looked at a few, I guess, differences between those who compete in individual sports, team sports, and online sports in terms of their anxiety before a race. And within these findings, we found that pretty much those who are online gamers pretty much have the worst anxiety before a race, I guess, for the online racing, and then individual sports. So that's where we come in, I guess, with triathlon, is more that individual sport based. So a big thing that we found is what affects your anxiety before the race. A lot of it is metacognition. So it's a big term called metacognition. And for those who don't know about it, it's pretty much the way we think about our own thoughts.
Okay.
So for example, say you're one of those people who's like, oh, I'm not stressing, and then you stress about not stressing. That is a metacognitive thought, because you're thinking about the way you should be feeling, for example. So this can happen a lot before a race. You can, for example, be going into a race and you're like, oh, I am feeling nervous about the swim, and then you overthink it, and then you think about the way you thought about that, and that can explode.
Big news time. We have a big brand new sponsor for the Wellness League podcast. So, can you guess who it is?
Hi, I'm Lana from Live and Breathe Active, or LAB, a small family-run business run by a group of passionate people that, well, we live and breathe this shit. Whether it's run, swim, cycle, or try, we make gear to get you through those tough training sessions. We help you get up before sunrise, and we will still be there with you well after sunset. You will see us before you hear us, with bespoke prints designed by artists just for you. We are driven by our values and are focused on performance and community. And we are super proud to be partnering with the Wellness League podcast in the Try series. Find out more or shop online at liveandbreatheactive.com. We can't wait to have you as part of the crew.
How good is that, hey? Discount codes and the link will be in the bio. But you know what? Let's go back to the pod.
So the main thing you can do before going to race is make sure that you know that you're in control about your own thoughts, and know that everyone else there is in the exact same boat as you can. So what I like to do before a race is I really like to make sure I've done everything I possibly can to prepare for that race. So that's like going through my nutrition, looking at the course beforehand. I'm pretty lazy with that, but I'm getting better. And also just visualizing, like I like to almost spend a bit of time beforehand to sit down when I've got some peace and quiet in the house by myself and write down the race in my head. And so I can just really visualize each part. And also from that, whenever I go into transition, I'll visualize what I have to do. So I'll put all my stuff down and I'll stand back and be like, okay, come in from my swim, wetsuit off, put it here, run bike shoes, put it on here, and visualize going in and out. Just so that means when you visualize it in your head, it's more likely to happen in action. But also know that everyone in the race is nervous. You know, like I'd almost be more concerned if you weren't nervous. Because that means you do care about your race and you care about being there, and it is a big new thing, or no matter how many times you've done it, it's still a big thing to do. So it's really okay to feel that way. You just need to ensure that you've done everything you can possibly to be there, And one of the biggest tips that someone ever told me is literally like the day before the race and the day of the race, there's literally nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
So you've just got to accept that and be like, got to give it a crack.
I always think the feeling of nervousness is the same feeling as excitement.
Yep.
Okay.
So I kind of go, I'm not nervous, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And try and think about it that way.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of physical feeling.
Yeah.
So, and if you get in the water and have a panic attack, what's the best way to think your way out of it?
Yep. So I think, of course, you need to just give yourself some time. So, like, if you can hold on to the lifeboat, for example, I know lifeguards have been really good with that in the past where they come over to you and they let you hold on to it. And you just breathe. Take your time and just really visualize why you're there, what your goals are for that day, and know that it's really okay to have this time and it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling, and then visualize, right, what's my next step? You know, why am I feeling this way? But what's my next step? Let's get to that buoy and then have a break, and just really break it up into really small elements.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of things also as well, like a lot of things with triathlon as well, or anyone who does any sport or endurance sport, you can get into some pretty dark places sometimes. You can get some pretty like hard head spaces, but I find that if I've gone out and done some training where I've been through those places, then I know in a race and okay, I've been through this, I've pushed through this before, but also trying to snap out of it is really hard. I find, like, personally, I find that just when people like snap out of it, I find that really hard. So sometimes you just got to remind yourself what the reason is why you're doing it, and also like let those thoughts come to your head and be like, I'm the only one who can change these thoughts. No one else here. People can give me advice as much as they want to, but no one else here can actually change my thoughts except for me. So you are completely in control of that. So it's up to you at the end of the day.
Can you just think in a race we're all crazy enough to be here racing? So
yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes like even little things like in some events I won't use my watch because I know if I look down at my watch and I'm going a pace that I'm not happy with, then I might feel gutted. Or if I'm going too fast, then I will pull back and I overthink it a bit too much. And I'm I like to go at feel quite a lot. So you just got to really figure out what works well for you. You know, some people feel more stable having data there and they can follow the data track. So it's really up to you and what you want. But the main thing is you are in control of your own thoughts.
Do you feel like running or riding with music in your ears helps as well to kind of keep your mind off those thoughts?
I used to when I first started, but I don't anymore.
Okay.
No.
And you can't use that in a race.
Of course,
either,
Yeah, I definitely used to.
Yeah.
If I'm on the trainer, I get so bored, 100%.
Trainer's podcast time.
Yeah.
Well, there's always the Wellness League podcast for that.
So do that.
But if like music does like help you, why not?
Yeah.
You can't use it in a race, but why not? You're still allowed to use it in training. So
Yeah, I find that even if you don't have the music, so you've trained with the music, but then I sing it in my head when I'm racing, so the music is still there.
Yeah. Love that.
Just in a different capacity.
Yeah. And I also like going on to that as well, like the little things, like when I'm on a big bike ride, I got to eat in 20 minutes. Woohoo!
Yeah.
The little wins.
The little treat at the end. The coffee.
I also had a tip that someone gave me, particularly with running, because you just, the end of the race and you're tired and you just feel like, I can't do this, my legs are so sore. Someone used to say to themselves, and they told me this, was, my legs are so strong, my legs are getting stronger. And saying that because you're actually putting it into a positive, and when you start thinking of something positive is better.
Yeah,
my legs are strong, rather than they're hurting.
Or when you're running, I started going, do I really need to stop because I'm going so well right now? If I'm in pain, I'll stop and walk, but I'm like, you know what? We're here, we're moving, we're better than all these people still in bed, so keep going.
Yeah, and then reflecting back to that goes to like every aspect in life, like even signing up for a race is a really big thing for some people, and it can be really scary and people can get really nervous, but you just got to be like, bite the bullet, let's do it and turn it into a positive thing because it's something that you've really wanted to do for a long time, for example, or say, even those days, like I know I can get in. I was just saying to the girls before, I meant to go swimming today, but I don't know if I will. And I used to get really, really down about it. And then it was like, and then I'll be like annoyed at myself for the rest of the day. But know that it's sometimes okay.
I was like that. Yeah. I think you need to listen to your body. That is really important, especially in a sport like this when we do lots of training. There is a point where your body's like, all right, I need a rest. And that's a point where you really need to stop. Have a couple of hours extra in bed, or just go and have a coffee, walk there instead of run, or do you know what I mean? Yeah, definitely.
Or sometimes just give it a crack, and if you're still feeling tired, go
Yeah.
back. You know,
Yeah,
so at least you've given it a crack.
Yeah.
Start the run, and
Yeah.
if it turns bad, then turn back and
Exactly.
walk home.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about a treadmill. You can just turn it off and you're done.
Yeah.
Or the
Sometimes the starting though is the hardest part.
Yeah. When normally you always feel better after the endorphins run through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Mhm.
Nice. Thank you for listening to this podcast.
And thanks for our shirts.
Thanks for our
Yeah.
shirts. These are comfy. I mentally feel better when I'm wearing a comfy shirt. Thanks for listening to this podcast. It will be on Spotify and YouTube as a video, or listen to us on Apple Podcasts. But in the meantime, go and follow us on the socials at the Wellness League Pod and at discovering_ET. You are?
I'm at Sorry. Where am I? You can find me on YouTube at TriFit with Tim and Amanda, and on Instagram trifit.tim.amanda.
Nice. And Em?
Just on Instagram for Emily Barrett 101.
And I'll tag all of our Stravas in the bottom so you can laugh at how much I'm training. See you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
I'm stuck with that now.
Yeah,
You can laugh how much I train.
Oh man, how good.